So what I want to talk about in this video is how to use the layout options so that you can have a more consistent distribution of the UI widgets here. And if you want to add more, it's a little bit easier. You don't have to select each one and scoot everything around. So we're going to use here in panel, there's going to be a horizontal box and a vertical box. So we'll start with the horizontal box, drag one in, and I'm going to grab the presets and then my combo box here. And here in the hierarchy, I'm just going to drag those UI elements into the horizontal box. And you'll see that they both now are in there and they're squeezed very, very tight. So what I want to do is I want to add a spacer in there. I'm not sure where spacer is. I'll just type it up here. And this one is going to go kind of in the middle there. So you can see the order that they appear is the order that they're actually going to be drawn in. So I just need to scoot this up. I can just drag and drop. Goes into the middle there. I'm going to select my horizontal box and then stretch it out just a little bit. And you can see that the combo box is squished up all the way to the side and isn't really doing what we might expect. So it doesn't have any content yet, so that's not a huge surprise, but I do want to give it a little bit of breathing room between the presets label and the combo box, so that's what our spacer is going to do. We have some options here. I'm going to click fill, and that will fill in the empty space. And that may be sufficient. We'll have to see what this looks like once this is populated. We may want to put a minimum value in there. So this is going to be X and Y. So we'll just leave it alone for now and sort of see what happens. But you can see the presets here is like floating at the top, and I'd like that to be centered. So you can just click these two here in terms of the alignment, and it should go to the middle. Okay, wonderful. Let's go ahead and compile this. I need to probably, at least initially, give it an anchor, and let's see what it looks like. Right, okay, so that's fine. And I think as I add more things in here, it's gonna go ahead and space that out appropriately. This is probably our max space there in terms of the gap that we're getting between presets and the spacer. So let's just select that spacer over here and we'll give it a width of like 5. So that should just keep a little bit of breathing room. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing. Let's go back and get another horizontal box. Be a panel. Horizontal box, and we'll grab UV bounds and drag this into horizontal box, and we'll go back and grab that spacer and drop it right here. Try to anyway. I think you may have to put it on the UI and then you can place it where you want it here in the hierarchy. And we'll do all that same stuff again. I'm not going to make you sit through any more examples of this, but I do want to grab that spacer and we'll give it a width of 5 and we will set it to fill that space. And it can be a little bit of a challenge to select the horizontal box here, so I'm just going to come over and grab it down here, and that makes it very easy to go ahead and give it a little bit of a stretch there. Okay, I'm going to add these other two elements now to the same thing. Cool. All right, so I'm not going to add this to its own layout because it doesn't really need one because there's only one element from left to right here. All right, now let's go back and grab a vertical box. And what I want to do is essentially just grab all of the horizontal boxes that I've created, and we'll drag them here into the vertical box. Oh, and also this thing. So that will become a child here of the vertical box as well. I'm going to select the vertical box and give it a little bit of space and scoot it over. So you can see things here are not in the exact order that I'm hoping, but it's very easy to modify that. Looks like we were missing a button too. Probably I didn't actually have a button. I think I was just demonstrating how to update this, so we're not too worried about that. But you can see now we're getting a nice bit of space there. I'd like to add one thing. I'm going to select the vertical box. There's going to be a padding value, I believe. I think actually it's in the horizontal box here. So inside that, we can just go ahead and I'm going to select them all. And if I type in 5, you can see we get a little bit of breathing room. I think this thing may have a padding as well. So we now have all of these elements inside of this vertical box. And if I resize the vertical box or I need to add new stuff, it should update. I may need to come over here and play with some of the alignment. It looks like vertical box may not have the same options, but we still want to set the anchor. So now we only have to set the anchor one time. rather than for everything else. And all of these other objects will be children here of our vertical box. And then one of the other things that I like to do, which is not as intuitive as you might hope, is add a little border around this. So I will show you how to do that. I'm going to go to, I'm just going to type in border. Grab a border, and it comes in as a solid square. So we've got to do a couple of things here. If you go down the list, you're going to see this draw as. We want to go ahead and select the drop down and select rounded box. So now we've got this nice round box, and it's going to have a tint, which is essentially the fill, and then the outline. So if I set the fill alpha here, probably the easiest way to do that is going to be just by grabbing the A channel and setting it to 0. We have nothing visible, but you'll notice that the outline actually is transparent. So I just need to come over here and set this to 1, and then change the color to white. And that should give us a little outline there. Right? So let's make the width a little bit thicker. I can come over and say, like, I don't know, maybe 3. And then I'm going to use, rather than half height radius, I'm going to use fixed radius here. And then if you come over to the corner radii, we can set this to, oh, I don't know, some value like this. And we should start to get a little bit of rounding. It may need some more. Let's kick this up to like a 6 maybe, just so we can see it. Yeah, so now we've got a nice rounded edge there, and probably a little bit less on the thickness. So how do we make this thing live inside this thing? It's very easy. Here's our border. We take the vertical box and you drag it under the border. And then you've got to make the border big enough to hold the content. And if we'd like to make it so that as we drag this thing around, it's going to resize, you can set the horizontal and vertical alignment to the center options. And then I believe if you resize it, we're going to get this kind of behavior. So that can be pretty nice. And now we've got a nice, well-organized UI. So let's take a quick look at the final result here. Lol. Let me throw an anchor on there. Still needs to know where it is relative to the center of the UI. Try that one more time. And there you go. So nice way to organize things and make it easier to update and add elements and whatever. So just a quick run through. There's obviously a lot more stuff in here that you can explore on your own, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a head start on the basics.